we have parts of answers in other species. Lemurs have these same glands that kind of go across the chest. And in that case, the lemurs seem to use them for identifying each other. Are you my cousin or not my cousin?
Body odour helps the lemur to determine if a prospective partner is too closely related. Sexual attraction is literally about chemistry. Other mammals don't have their glands in their armpits. They're around their anus and sexual organs.
It looks like as we started to stand up more, and as we interacted with each other like this, that if we were going to sniff each other, the hair and the smell had to move up.
Meaning our armpits have a major influence on how we date and mate. It's not just muscles or bikinis that brings men and women together. It's the smell of our personal wildlife. Bacteria thrive in every nook and cranny of your body. And one of the richest ecosystems is your navel. It's a tiny crater, a scar that we carry through life, and we barely give a thought to it. But for scientists at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, the navel is a place of infinite mystery. This is the home of the Belly Button Biodiversity Project. Hundreds of volunteers have been recruited to twirl a cotton swab in their belly button to help find new species.
Hi. The power of our research comes from the fact that it will be able to sample so many different citizens as scientists. And you kind of can't harness that power unless people are engaged in the project.
Welcome to the Daily Planet Theater.
Brian Mallow bills himself as a microbial comedian.
We'll be talking about some citizen science projects and about the life that lives on us. We'll be talking about tiny life, which is really fascinating. An infectious disease walks into a bar. The bartender says, "We don't serve infectious diseases in this bar." The infectious disease says, "Well, you're not a very good host."
If I can make you laugh, maybe that'll make you more open-minded to the subject, and maybe it'll make it more memorable.
And we want you to take the swab and be really careful. Just loosen it up, okay? Lift up, get it nice and good, get all the gunk out, all the microbes out.
Yeah, so while that's happening, you're actually getting individual living organisms on that swab.
Just by touching to it,
yeah. Not squirrels or anything, but like bacteria, archaeans, protists,
dogs,
fungus.
cats.
Yeah, dogs are really unlikely, although it is a deep belly button.
Small
so
dog,
I can't
Chihuahuas,
rule anything out.
Great Danes.
I'm not looking, I'm trying not to look, but we'll see it if it's on the swab.
No, I keep it clean. I probably don't have anything in it.
In fact, the belly button is crawling with life. It's protected from the chemical warfare of soap. And it's usually covered up from the ravages of weather. All of which makes it a prime candidate for the discovery of new species.
For a long time, it's been argued that the tropical rainforest canopy is the last frontier. And it's true that we know very little about that canopy. But we know no more about our own bodies.
The Belly Button Survey has revealed previously unimagined species on our body. One person was carrying a form of archaic life only ever seen before in the most extreme environment on Earth, in deep ocean vents.
What's interesting is that if we look at bacterial diversity in the human belly button, we have a huge amount of variations. You know, among 60 individuals, there was not one species of bacterium that was found in all 60 of those individuals.
Like our retinal patterns, fingerprints, and our DNA, the wildlife in our belly button is unique. It's our microbial signature, but it's in a constant state of flux. The places we go, the food we eat, the people we meet, they all affect our microbial jungle.
This is our Costa Rica, right? This is our area where we go on the body to really find our huge amount of diversity. Compared to the armpit, that's certainly true.
So far, the North Carolina team has identified 2,300 bacteria species. That's 4 times the diversity of all bird species in North America. And this abundant harvest has come from just 60 belly buttons.
So on your body overall, you have thousands of species. Most of them are not named.
Some people maybe have a lot less than others.
Some people have hundreds of species living in their belly button. Some people have as few as 6 species living in their belly button. And having fewer species is associated with poorer health outcomes. And so it increases your odds of getting sick.
Maybe the words bacteria and microbes, they have already like sort of negative connotations to most people. So maybe they need a rebranding.
Diminutive super friends.
Just as we need biodiversity to support life on Earth, we need a variety of microorganisms to guard the health of our human ecosystems. On each square centimetre of your skin, there are more than 1 billion bacteria. For them, it's a land of abundance, with plenty of food supplies. You shed 30,000 to 40,000 dead skin cells every hour. That's 2 kilograms in a year.
Part of what they're consuming is our dead skin, our dead bits, and so there's some decomposition happening there. They're at war with each other, and so even our good bacteria are actively fighting each other, producing antibiotics. They're all trying to win. I mean, none of them want to just be confined to our armpit, right? Each and every species, they would all benefit if they could colonize us from head to toe.
One of our microscopic residents engaged in chemical warfare is Bacillus subtilis. They patrol the skin looking for fungi to attack. Without them, we'd wake up covered in mold. Other microbes, like Staphylococcus epidermidis, colonize our skin in numbers so vast that there is little room for invading rivals. But the true power of bacteria comes when they act together, and this coordination requires a special language.
Their genes are encoding proteins that are allowing them to talk with each other and to detect each other and to control each other's growth and basically to allow other bacteria that are more beneficial or less competitive with them, to grow in greater abundance.
By tapping into a cell-to-cell network, microbes conspire with their own species and build alliances with other bacteria to outsmart invaders. Bacteria are the most successful organisms on Earth, and part of their success is that they're able to steal the genes they need to adapt and thrive.
They're able to change their genomes very easily. And so this is why it's really important to study the bacteria that grow on and with us and in us to understand, in a sense, like what is the stable state? Because when a pathogen emerges, it's often, one of these typical bacteria that have co-evolved with us and have been not a problem until, they picked up something, perhaps from a virus, from another bacterium, who knows what, and now they just changed the game.
This genetic flexibility can transform our harmless microbes from docile skin grazers into vicious killers.
I suddenly felt very ill, and I went to the gentleman's toilets, and basically I collapsed on the floor.
But how can a tiny bacteria destroy a healthy body in just a few hours?
Human or inhuman, not even the world's greatest scientific minds can answer. Gentlemen, do you realize? By the light switch.
When good bacteria go bad, the result can be scarier than any science fiction. For Andrew Ferguson, a visit to an alpine resort became a life and death struggle with a rogue pathogen.
I was vomiting and had blood coming out of my mouth and nose and all sorts of strange places.
On arrival, Andrew had a quick swim in the hotel pool, completely unaware that a rare skin bacteria had already entered his body.
The bug, the strep B bug, actually got in through a cut on the leg, and I was having a Rigor's attack, effectively where the body gets overwhelmed by bugs and you go into a constant shaking. And I ended up at Garmisch-Partenkirchen Hospital. Over the next 12 hours, I must have had every test known to man. They just didn't know what the problem was. Eventually, after taking blood cultures, they discovered that I had a streptococcal B infection. And then over a period of 3 days, I was given increasing dosages of different types of penicillin. But nothing was working.
It's like being in a canoe and going down the Niagara River. If we're in it early enough, someone can rescue us. But if we're far enough down that river, eventually nothing is going to help us. And unfortunately, that's the situation we have with these invasive infections, where at the very last moment we have to get a surgeon to get in and remove that destroyed tissue.
The surgeon said, we're probably going to have to amputate the leg. The infection is spreading in the main artery, and if we don't get it, it's going to go to your heart and you'll be dead. I remember saying to the surgeon as I went into that operating theatre, I can do without the leg, but I certainly can't do without my life.
Flesh-eating disease is an infection that literally eats its way through the layers of tissue that surrounds the muscles. And it's fast. It can cause death within 12 hours.
It can spread amazingly quickly. Sometimes we can even see it before our very eyes.
This bug needs serious vigilance. 160,000 people are killed worldwide by this bacterial onslaught every year.
I still have my leg, as you will see. I actually still have it. The aftermath of all of this is I have to take penicillin twice a day, and that has its implications as well, because unfortunately overuse of penicillin tends to cause killing off the good bugs that sit in the gut, and then I ended up with other complications as a result of that.
These are dreadful infections. To go from a perfectly healthy person one day to dying or only being saved by very aggressive surgery is an indication of these bacteria's potential for harm to us.
But what could turn Streptococcus, usually no more dangerous than a sore throat, into such an aggressive killer? Microbiologist Professor Mark Walker was intrigued by the mystery.
It was quite a surprise. There'd been quite low levels of very invasive diseases caused by this bug.
With some ingenious genetic detective work, Professor Walker tracked the origin of the deadly disease.
In the mid-1980s, in the Rocky Mountain region of the US, there was an outbreak of flesh-eating disease caused by Streptococcus. This outbreak was investigated, and what was found was that a new group A Streptococcus had come onto the scene, which was more virulent and better able to cause invasive disease.
This virulence was caused by a virus called bacteriophage, which invaded the strep and modified its DNA.
It inserts its genetic information into the bacterium, and that's the reprogramming that takes place when a bacteriophage infects a bacterium.
This modified bacteria was so successful that the clone of that single bacterium spread across the world.